Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started.
Have you ever woken up around 3 a.m. after a night out and something about your heart just feels wrong? Maybe it's beating faster than normal. Maybe it feels like it's pounding against your ribs. Maybe it flutters, skips, feels irregular in a way that instantly gets your attention. And now you're lying there in the dark, checking your pulse, trying to decide if this is just anxiety or if something more serious is happening. A lot of people have had that experience, and most of the time they explain it away the same way. They call it hangxiety. They assume it's psychological. They think it's just dread, poor sleep, dehydration, maybe embarrassment about something they said. But that's not the full story, because alcohol doesn't just affect your mood, it can directly affect your heart rhythm. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, founder of Cloud9 and author of No Willpower Required. And today we're breaking down what alcohol actually does to the heartbeat, why that 3 a.m. chest flutter happens, and why it can show up even in people with no history of heart problems. To understand it, you have to start with the way the heart actually works. Your heartbeat is not just a mechanical pump, it's an electrical event. Every beat depends on a precisely timed signal moving through the heart in the right sequence. That system is influenced by your nervous system, your hydration status, your blood sugar, your electrolyte levels, and the responsiveness of the heart tissue itself. Alcohol disrupts all of them. And it starts with the nervous system. Alcohol initially acts like a depressant. It enhances GABA, which is one of the brain's main calming neurotransmitters. At the same time, it suppresses glutamate, which is more stimulating and activating. That's part of why drinking initially feels relaxing. Your system slows down, you feel quieter internally, looser, less alert. But your brain is always trying to maintain balance, so while alcohol is still in your system, you feel sedated, but underneath that, your brain is already setting up a rebound. Then the alcohol starts wearing off, and what's left behind is a nervous system tilted towards stimulation. That's why people often wake up in the middle of the night with a racing heart, not because the alcohol is still relaxing them, but because the rebound has started. Adrenaline rises, stress hormones rise, and your body shifts into a fight or flight state while you're supposed to be asleep. That alone can make your heart pound or race. But the nervous system rebound is only one part of it. Alcohol also affects blood volume, because alcohol is a diuretic. It suppresses vasopressin, the hormone that helps your body hold on to water, so you lose more fluid than you realize. And as blood volume drops, the heart has to work harder to maintain pressure and circulation. That means more strain, more compensation, more awareness of your heartbeat. But there's another layer that matters even more for the actual fluttering or skipped beat sensation: electrolytes. When you lose fluids, you don't just lose water, you also lose minerals like potassium and magnesium, and those are critical for the heart's electrical stability. Your heart cells rely on carefully controlled shifts in sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium to fire and reset properly. If those levels become unstable, the electrical system gets more irritable. That's when people start noticing premature beats, palpitations, or that weird sensation that the rhythm isn't quite right. So by this point, you've got multiple things hitting at once: a nervous system rebound, lower blood volume, and a more irritable electrical environment in the heart. And we still haven't talked about blood sugar. Blood sugar is a huge part of this, because while the heart is reacting to adrenaline, dehydration, and electrolyte shifts, your liver is also changing priorities. Normally, the liver helps keep blood sugar stable between meals. It releases stored glucose and helps prevent overnight crashes. But when alcohol enters the system, the liver shifts into detox mode. Clearing alcohol becomes the priority. And that means stable glucose support gets pushed aside. So if you've been drinking without enough food, or you drink close to bedtime, your blood sugar can drop while you sleep. And when blood sugar drops, the body reacts fast, because the brain depends heavily on glucose. So your system releases more adrenaline and cortisol to compensate. That creates shakiness, sweating, that surge of internal panic, and again, a racing or pounding heart. This is why the 3 a.m. wake-up can feel so intense. You're not just waking up anxious, you may be waking up in the middle of a real physiological stress event. And poor sleep makes it worse. Alcohol might help people fall asleep faster, but it disrupts sleep architecture, especially later in the night. So as the alcohol wears off and the rebound begins, sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented, and more vulnerable to arousal, which means your brain becomes much more likely to notice the pounding heart, the shift in rhythm, the sweating, the low blood sugar, all of it. And now the medical world actually has a name for one of the more serious versions of this: holiday heart syndrome. That's the term used when people develop a significant irregular rhythm, often atrial fibrillation, after heavy alcohol use. And what makes that important is this: it can happen in people with no prior heart disease, no obvious warning, no chronic cardiac history, just acute disruption from alcohol, fluid loss, stress hormones, and electrolyte imbalance. That doesn't mean every flutter or skipped beat is atrial fibrillation, but it does mean alcohol-related rhythm symptoms are real and not something people should automatically dismiss as just anxiety. So what can you do? First, avoid binge drinking. That's the biggest lever. Second, don't drink on an empty stomach. Food slows absorption and helps protect blood sugar stability. Third, hydrate before bed and the next day, ideally with electrolytes, not just plain water, because volume matters, but so do minerals. Fourth, be careful with caffeine mixed with alcohol. That combination can amplify the instability. And fifth, pay attention to timing. If you notice late-night drinking triggers 3 a.m. wake-ups, heart pounding, or next-day palpitations, that pattern matters. This is also where support can help, not as a cure, and definitely not as a substitute for medical care, but as support for the systems alcohol stresses. That's part of why people use recovery support formulas like Daily Restore, because alcohol doesn't just affect the moment, it creates a stress load on hydration, nutrient status, oxidative balance, and recovery. Supporting those systems can help reduce the next-day fallout. Again, not a shield, not a free pass, just support for the biology underneath the symptoms. And one more thing matters here. If your palpitations are severe, prolonged, or come with chest pain, dizziness, fainting, or shortness of breath, that is not the time to self-diagnose. That is the time to get evaluated, because sometimes a heart rhythm issue really does need urgent care. So the real takeaway is this: that pounding heart at 3 a.m. is not just in your head. It may feel emotional, but often it starts as chemistry, as fluid loss, as mineral loss, as a nervous system rebound, as unstable blood sugar. And understanding that changes the way you respond. It turns fear into information. And maybe that's the bigger point. How many sensations we label as random anxiety are actually the body trying to explain a very real biological event? I'm Mike Hardenbrook. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you in the next session. Take care of yourself.
That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.